So, Mr. Nasheed, could you talk a little bit about your background? I know you have a background in education and public policy. Could you talk a little bit about how you were able to take some of those transferable skills with you towards working with Atlanta Public Schools and the CRT system that they have?
Absolutely. So a lot of what I learned earlier on in my career was transferable, not just to the work we did within Atlanta Public Schools, but it was transferable throughout my career and every stop along the way. To zero in on the Atlanta Public Schools project, I want to focus primarily on how we analyze the performance of that school district and how we leverage learnings from similarly situated school districts to inform what we recommended to leadership. So what we looked at to begin with was the CRCT scores and the performance of the students at the third grade level across a number of subjects. And those are predictors of performance, and they connect to a lot of other predictive variables later on in life. We won't go into that today. But what we wanted to do is start with understanding how well Atlanta Public Schools was performing overall. We wanted to see how we could improve that performance. And in order to do so, we started by looking at how well they performed on average across each of the subjects. And we found that they were below average across each subject area. Understanding how averages work, we wanted to then say, is this the case for all schools? And is this the norm across the entire state? And what we found is it's not, and that within the entire state of Georgia, Atlanta Public Schools was underperforming. Understanding that the majority of Georgia is more rural, we wanted to zero in on the area that's most like the Atlanta metropolitan area and most like Atlanta Public Schools. So we focused primarily on a regional analysis of those school districts that are similarly situated as Atlanta Public Schools. We found within that same region, Atlanta Public Schools was still lagging behind on across all of the subjects. So that led us to focus our analysis around the size of the student body because that determines the student to teacher ratio, which impacts the level of education that the students receive. So we zeroed in on this type of school within these particular school districts, and we found that the size of the student population does matter. And so we wanted to understand within that student population how diverse is the student body. Are a lot of the students looking to leverage free and reduced lunch programs, which is a proxy for poverty? What's the level of diversity in the classroom, et cetera? So all of these metrics are things that we looked at and analyzed. And as a result, we found that there are certain schools that have a diverse population, a large percentage of students that qualify for free and reduced lunch that are still performing relatively well. So we wanted to identify what those top schools were within APS that were diverse and figure out what leadership was doing within those schools that could inform what we could do for the lower performing schools. And then we wanted to also find schools that were within other school districts that were in the metropolitan area that also were performing well and what we could learn from those school districts as well. So that's really how we approached it. And we made a few recommendations to leadership around what they could do and what other schools they could learn from to help them with their students.